There is no reason for the local clothing brands in Singapore to have unoriginal designs. A lot of people have been dogging on this one local Singaporean brand, and it's for good reason. Like those clothes that they get and they've been posting are just clothes that are directly ripped off from Taobao, and then they rebrand it into their brand. And it's funny because people are making jokes about how all the models that they use in the brand are not like multiracial, but that's not really not the biggest deal. It's like if a brand doesn't want to use like a certain race of people, that's on them, right? It's one of those kind of gigs where there is no like ethnic quota. Like you don't have to be hiring people that you don't want to for your brand if it doesn't represent your brand image. But there are no excuses as to why clothes that are made here locally should be fucking shit that's just ripped off of Taobao. And I remember the first thing that I learned here when I started going out more and like going to gigs and going to like art scenes in Singapore specifically is that we actually have a really diverse kind of art scene. And this stems from the fact that we have to be very careful about how we are conveying messages. And what I mean by that is, although we have free speech in Singapore, there are certain things that are very touchy subjects. We cannot have anything that symbolizes active rebellion. We cannot freely talk about LGBTQ. And although I may not agree with those kind of restrictions, the fact is that art in itself always finds a way to speak. And what I love about Singapore art is the fact that we are so obscure with our references. Like an example would be some artists that I've seen in their work is they will depict the idea of rebellion, the idea of anarchy in Singapore, and they do it in such a tactful and like tasteful way without actually alluding to what it is or like saying the concept outright. They find ways to abstract this idea, and you can see this throughout like all the different kind of postings of artwork. If you ever go to LaSalle or fucking NAFA and you go look at exhibits, sometimes people have a strong message to say. It just so happens that they aren't able to say it. But this kind of reminds me of like art during like slavery times, like back in American history when they would use certain references and certain pictures to depict rebellion or to depict like plans and shit. And it's not to say like slavery is a good thing or anything, but it's just alluding to the fact that when there are restrictions, especially like on art, especially on like freedom of speech and those kind of things, like beautiful things stem from those things. And why I say this is because we have such a good art scene. We have so much good diversity. We have so much of these artists that have a message that they want to speak, and an outlet they can speak through is with clothes. So I just don't understand why this same creativity is not being put through with like our clothing brands. And when people say like support local, at this point, it's almost like a dig at our local brands because honestly, no one is showing up to par with our clothes. No one is meeting the standard. No one wants to actually innovate. Everyone is starting these clothing brands just because, you know, everyone's starting a clothing brand nowadays and they feel that they can be the next successful thing. When I went to Vietnam and I want to go shop, although a lot of clothes do follow a similar kind of formula, like baggy, streetwear, those kind of things, every single brand that I shop from, whether it be from Astu, Hades, fucking Rumish, like Latui, all of those brands have their own kind of design language. And although Vietnam has a style, and people always say like, yeah, you just very Vietnam coded, it's the fact that they have a language that they speak. And us as Singapore, we also have a language that we speak. And I would feel that specifically when it comes to clothes, it would be like Chinese, Malay, Indian, like those kind of cultures like blended together. Or it may just be something as simple as the fact that we have a lot of restriction. We have something as simple as a disdain or kind of not full acceptance of like LGBTQ people. And it's not to say you make a gay clothes, but it's to say you can make clothes that speak out on the homophobia in Singapore. Something as simple as that. But we're not doing that. We have a great platform and we have a great outlet for creative space. We have a lot of people that are willing to spend money on things that are relatable to us, things that are actually worth spending on. So there is a market for that, but nobody is willing to take that step of stepping into something that is unknown, something stepping into something that can only be bought in Singapore. It's not happening. No one is taking that leap. No one is speaking the language of Singaporeans, at least when it comes to clothes, right? No, we can all agree, and I'm sure most brands can agree that no one is trying to dress up in fucking Uniqlo and fucking Cotton On. And no one is trying to wear only that shit in their closet, okay? Like, that is our Singaporean uniform, and we're trying to step out of that. But it's also to say that no one is taking, like, it obviously costs money, and there's a chance that you fail. But the first, I think, personally, my hypothesis is the first brand that actually goes out of their way to speak as to the Singaporean design language, speak as to like the art. If you just honestly like, don't say it's ripping it off, but if you just go to any fucking art school, go walk through an exhibit, go walk through how, look at how creative like our art students are. We can definitely make a fucking change. We can definitely make an impact in wherever it be, streetwear, formal, just clothing brands for like our like younger generation. Like, it can happen. It just so happens that no one has done anything spectacular yet.